All right, let's dive in. We need to talk about this double-edged sword we're all holding, our technology. On one hand, it's an incredible tool, a hero that can solve problems we never thought possible. But on the other, it can feel like a ghost in the machine, creating these invisible risks that affect our privacy and security. So today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at both sides of this coin.
And wow, does this slide nail that conflict or what? In one corner, you've got an AI that dug into some of the most critical code on the internet and found security holes that the smartest humans had missed for over 20 years. Just incredible. And in the other corner, the privacy-focused search engine DuckDuckGo asks its users, hey, want some AI features? And a whopping 90% of them said, no thanks. So, what gives? How can something be so powerful and so unwanted at the same time?
To really get our heads around this, let's start with the good stuff. Let's look at the greatest tool argument, because there are some truly mind-blowing examples of AI doing things that are frankly superhuman. First, deep inside our own bodies, and then inside the code that protects all of us online. So what's with the 98%? Well, for the longest time, that's the percentage of our DNA we called junk DNA. You know, the parts that don't seem to code for proteins. But scientists knew it had to be doing something important. And now, Google's DeepMind has an AI called AlphaGenome, and its whole job is to figure out this massive, mysterious part of who we are.
And the scale of what this AI can do is just insane. It can look at 1 million pieces of our genetic puzzle at once and predict how one tiny change in that junk DNA might turn a critical gene on or off. This is a total game changer for understanding complex diseases, from cancer to all sorts of genetic disorders. It's basically taking what was a black box and turning it into a roadmap for medical research.
Okay, so that's amazing for the future of medicine. But let's shift from biological code to computer code, because the code that keeps the internet from falling apart is just as vital to our lives right now. And it turns out, AI is a superhero there too.
And I love this quote because it perfectly captures what happened. So, there's this critical piece of software called OpenSSL. You've probably never heard of it, but it's the lock on the door for your online banking, your private messages, pretty much everything. The best human minds have been checking this code for decades. Then, an AI from a company called ISIL came along and said, hey guys, mind if I take a look? And the results were just staggering. Get this, the AI found 15 zero-day vulnerabilities. These are the worst kind, flaws that nobody knew about, so there was zero protection against them. Some of these bugs had been sitting there since 1998. That's older than some of the programmers working today. One was so bad it could have let an attacker run their own code on a server from halfway across the world. This wasn't just finding typos. This was AI proving it could be a better, faster security guard than we've had for 20+ years. Okay, so AI is this incredible hero, right? It's decoding our DNA, it's securing the internet, but here's the twist. Anytime you create something that valuable, that powerful, it immediately becomes a target. The tool itself becomes the treasure.
Just look at this timeline. It's like something out of a spy movie. A Google engineer for over a year was just quietly siphoning off thousands of pages of the company's most secret AI research, all while he was secretly working for other companies in China. It's a massive case of economic espionage, and it just goes to show, the more powerful the AI, the more people will risk to steal it.
And you know, the threat isn't just about super advanced AI getting stolen. What happens when the very things we buy and trust to protect us just break? What happens when our digital shields fail? This story is just wild. Imagine your antivirus software, the one thing you install to stop hackers, actually becomes the weapon they use against you. Hackers broke into an update server for an antivirus called eScan, and for 2 hours, they pushed out a fake update that was actually malware. Once it was on a computer, it blocked any real future updates and opened a backdoor for the hackers to steal data. The shield literally became the sword.
And you might think, okay, well that's a commercial software company. But this kind of vulnerability, it reaches into places you would never expect, even into organizations built on centuries of tradition and secrecy, like, say, the Nobel Committee.
The Nobel Peace Prize is supposed to be one of the best-kept secrets in the world. But in 2025, the winner's name, Maria Corina Machado, got out early. And how did they know? The biggest clue was this absolutely bizarre and massive surge in online betting on her name just hours before the announcement. It was so unusual, the committee's best guess was a digital breach of their own systems.
So what about the apps we use every single minute of every day?
We all use WhatsApp, and its biggest promise is end-to-end encryption. That's supposed to mean that no one, not even Meta, can read our messages. That's the deal. Or is it? A 2024 whistleblower complaint, now part of a U.S. government investigation, claims that some Meta employees and moderators do have a way to access message content. So that perfect, private shield we all count on? Maybe it's not so perfect after all.
All right, so that's a lot of scary stuff. I get it. It can feel like we're just helpless. But this isn't all doom and gloom, not at all. This last part is all about you and about the real, tangible ways you can start to take back control of your digital life.
And here's a fantastic example from Apple. Your phone right now is constantly telling cell towers exactly where you are, down to a few meters. Well, Apple introduced a feature called location fuzzing. It basically blurs that signal, so instead of a precise pinpoint, the carrier just sees a general area, like a few kilometers wide. The source material called it a privacy hoodie for your phone, and that is the perfect analogy. It's a simple, powerful way to fight back against the constant tracking of our location.
Now let's go back to that DuckDuckGo poll. That 90% vote against AI wasn't just people being afraid of new tech. It was a massive, collective demand for choice. And you know what? DuckDuckGo listened. They didn't just kill AI. They built two versions of their site, one with AI, one without, and gave people control. It's proof that when we speak up, companies do listen, and the future isn't about just accepting whatever they give us.
We've all heard this line before, right? It's the standard boilerplate response from a company right after a big data breach. In this case, it's from the maker of an AI toy dinosaur called Bondu. And what they did, or rather what they didn't do, is a perfect lesson in why thinking about privacy last is a disaster.
So a researcher found that the parent website for this AI toy was completely open. Let that sink in for a second. There was no sophisticated hacking involved. Literally anyone with a Gmail account could just log in and read over 50,000 private conversations between children and their toys. This included kids' names, their birthdays, and all sorts of sensitive family details. It's a chilling, infuriating nightmare of a privacy failure, and it's what happens when security isn't built in from the very beginning.
Okay, let's bring it all home. We have covered a ton of ground here, from our own DNA to toy dinosaurs. So what's the bottom line? What's the real upshot of all this for you and me?
First, AI is an absolutely amazing watchdog, capable of spotting flaws that humans miss, just like with the OpenSSL audit. But that very same power, that value, makes the AI itself a huge target for theft, like we saw in the Google espionage case.
Second, those digital shields we rely on every day are not unbreakable. The eScan antivirus getting hacked, the Nobel Prize leak, the questions around WhatsApp's privacy, they all remind us that even our protectors can have weaknesses, and we need to stay critical. And finally, and this is the most important one, you are not powerless in this, not by a long shot. Proactive features like Apple's location fuzzing and the power of choice the DuckDuckGo users demanded prove that making smart, conscious decisions about the technology you use is your absolute best defense against failures like that awful Bondu toy.
So that really leaves us with this one big question. We are living with this tension every single day. The same device in your pocket can be your greatest ally and your biggest vulnerability. The question isn't whether technology is good or bad. The real question is, how are you going to choose to navigate it?